Welcome back, everyone. I'm Carrington-Russell, Australian award-winning author of kick-butt heroines in dark romantic worlds. And I have a very special guest for you today. We are talking to an Amazon top 10 best-selling author known for her dark romance. We are talking to the one and only Lilian Harris. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm still very torn about your decision to have this interview at 9 p.m. because I am a
Oh, yeah.
morning person, so I would have been in bed already, but credit to you.
I am not a morning person. I rather do everything at night. So I once took a college final with zero sleep, and I studied all night and aced it. So my brain is night person. This
So
is perfect time for me.
take me back because I was saying before we were on here that I've been watching your like a little stalker over here, but watching your journey from the side and celebrating your success. I'm here for the wins,
Thank
and
you.
I especially want to hear about the ups and the downs because it's really hard work paving in this industry. So take me back to the start of your journey. What made you want to write in the first place, and how did you find publishing?
So I came to the U.S. when I was 7. As soon as I got here, I started writing poetry. I loved it. I read it as a kid, so I started to write poetry, and then I continued that through college. But I also started to write song lyrics. Now I always wanted to write a novel. I just didn't feel like I could ever do it. In 2019, I actually tried. I think I got 5 or 10,000 words, and I quit. I had my first child. Yeah, I quit. So I had my first. I still don't know where that story is, but it's somewhere. I had my first child. He was about 1. Like the indie publishing was just beginning then, and I feel like because I didn't really know anyone, I didn't have support. I couldn't talk to anybody. I was like, "That's it. I suck." Threw the towel, and I was like, "I'm done." No, I'm sorry. This was 2014. I made that up. 2014. 2019 was when I tried again. So 2000, yes. So 2000, so it was a while between that. So around December of 2014, I tried to write, failed. And then around April of 2019, I said, you know what? I was reading a book by Brittany Cherry. I don't know if you know her. She doesn't write dark romance, but it's more of like emotional contemporary, and I love emotional stories. So I was reading her book, and I was like, you know what? I think I could do this again. So at that point, I started writing my first book in April, and it was published in October of 2019, and I just never stopped. So that's my like, don't give up on your dreams speech. You never know when you will do it again. So yeah, and I'm still here. So
And I love this too because, like 2014, we've had conversations on here before, but it was a very different time. As you said, it was just
yes,
when self-publishing was
yes.
coming out.
Mhm.
I originally published in 2014, so I feel like a veteran now. Just like it was a very different
Yeah,
place. And then by 2019, there would have been a lot more resources for you by then as to how to get
yes.
published. So doing your research and such, I'm sure you still made a bunch of mistakes, but
Oh
when
yeah.
did you start noticing the snowball effect in your career? When did you realize, oh, I'm an actual author now? People are reading my stuff.
I still don't feel like that, believe it or not. I still do not. I still feel like my stuff stinks. I still feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not a real author. I don't know if that's ever going to go away from me, but I think maybe with my last release was when I was like, oh my gosh, people are actually reading this. Like, I mean, I knew people were reading my stuff before, but not to this magnitude. But I still have, I'm writing a new book now, and I was talking to my alpha reader, and I'm like, oh, this all sucks. Just tell me it sucks. She's like, it doesn't suck. I'm like, it sucks. So I don't think that's ever going to go away from me, personally speaking. But
Have you
yeah.
found that it's applied pressure though? Because, and we will talk about this soon. Your recent book that released, it made it into top 10, which was amazing. That was so cool to see from the
Thank
sideline.
you.
And now you
Thank
have
you.
book two coming out. So
Yeah.
did it apply the pressure more that you're like, oh, what if
Yes.
people really loved it and being top 10? And now it's just like rubbish, which it's not.
Yes. I have had this talk with a few author friends. I've had this talk with my alpha reader, with personal friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I don't make this second book stick, it's as if all my work for book one was for nothing. And I don't know if it's going to stick. I mean, people might read it and be like, oh, this is terrible. Oh, this is not like the first one. We're just going to stop now. So I don't know, but I did the best I could. I think the book is even better than book one. But, that's my opinion. It's up to the readers to decide what they like and what they don't like. But you never know. Like with this market is just up and down. Like you don't know what's going to stick and not stick. So I'm just fingers crossed at this point. So it's done. It's with my proofreader. So yeah.
The nails in the coffin. So let's see. No.
Yes. Yes. The arcs are going out. What? I go to the Bahamas on the 27th. So I'm like, I'm sending out those arcs on the 26th, and I hope you like it because I
Yeah,
won't know about it. I'm not looking at my phone.
I feel like that's healthy though.
I'm gonna try. I say that, but then I'll be like every Goodreads review. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm that person. Yeah. Terrible.
So
Absolutely terrible.
so habits not to do. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
I know. Don't do it. Do not do it. Don't be
If
me.
you have the skin to do it, if you have the thick skin where you can
Yeah, I don't. I
well, okay,
don't.
then don't do it.
I don't. That's the problem. Because I will only look at the bad ones and take them to heart. And the good ones, like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. It's terrible. It's terrible. Don't be me.
Then tell me about book two. So Brutal Savage, which is book two in the Savage King series. Tell me about how was it writing that book? Was it a little bit different? Were there things that surprised you in it?
Surprisingly, no. I feel like this book has maybe slightly different vibes. I mean, like all my guys are, mafia. So this is an Irish mob series. So all my guys are just, alpha, but super protective of their heroines. So the vibes are, pretty similar. It's just, the tropes are a little bit different. So this is a single dad, forced marriage, and so he adopted a little boy. It's his cousin's child who died. So she's the boy's teacher. So I've never actually written a teacher heroine before. And I actually had one of my betas who's a teacher. So I had a lot of questions for her. I'm like, does this make sense? Does that make sense? She's like, oh, it totally does. So, and it's also an age gap. She's 23 and he's 38. So it's got like fun little stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's got like, I wouldn't say enemies to lovers. It's more like hate to love you. I hate you, but I can't get my hands off of you kind of vibes. Yeah, that's the book. It's fun. It's got a huge twist. I think this is probably the best twist that I have ever written. No one so far has even figured it out. So if someone does, I'm like, kudos to you because I don't know how. I don't
I
know how.
love this. So, how does
Yeah.
your writing process work though? Because one thing that I was really impressed by, because I'm stalking, is
Yeah.
that say for example, you go onto your Amazon page and then you see exactly what your book is about. You have the blurb, but then you have your list of tropes as well. So straight away, your readers know exactly what they're stepping into. So when you're thinking of a book, are you going in thinking, I want to have these tropes in it, or are you plotting? Are you pantsing, or are the tropes just naturally flowing into it, or you have a game plan right from the
That's a
start?
good question. That's a good question. So I used to work. So now I think of tropes before the story. Sometimes it so happens that the story kind of fits the tropes I want to write. But before that, I used to have the story in my head before the tropes, and then I used to sit there try to figure out what the tropes were. And that's honestly, for me at least, not a smart way to do it anymore, because then you can't market your book. So now I think of the tropes before I think of the story. But these characters were already, well, he was already in the prior book and another series before that. So I kind of had to develop him more, but she was brand new. And I already had the boy that I mentioned. So I kind of had to figure out what I wanted to do for this couple. And I love writing forced marriage. So I wanted to write another. So Sinful Vows was book one in my prior series, and it was forced marriage. I'm like, I want to do another forced marriage. So a little bit of both. So I think of tropes. And then as far as the plot, I'm not a plotter. I am more of like in between, I guess, if that makes sense. So like I will have a beginning that I jot down like bullet points, and then I will think of some major scenes and I will just have one or two lines for it. And then the rest I will just figure out as I write. So I'm kind of like a mix, I guess, if that makes any sense. So
Have you
yeah.
had moments where like, as you're like, oh my gosh, that's the bad person, or that's why that
Oh
person was
yeah.
bad all along?
A time. I changed see, I come from reading not only romance, but like suspense and thriller stuff. So I like to mix a little bit of both in my books. And so I have changed bad guys or bad girls in my book so many times. While I'm writing, I'm like, oh my goodness. Actually, the book that's Brutal Savage, I changed who the villain was like mid story. So I'm like, this would be a better villain. So yeah, I do that all the time, and it's just so much fun. And now I'm trying to figure out um book four. So book three I already figured out, but book four, I'm like, I don't have a twist for this yet. So I'm like, I need to figure out a twist because I have to have a twist in every book because I kind of like pigeonholed myself into that now, where my readers expect a twist in every single book. So now I'm like, okay, book four, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah,
How much of
figure
a
it out.
tangled mess does your head feel when you're writing with the twist and the suspense? Because you're thinking, all right, what's the shock factor I'm going to have? But I don't know it. And I'm meant to be writing this book, but I still don't really know what I'm writing. Do you continue writing and then come back to, say, back to the start? And then once you figure out that plot twist, thread it through? Or do you intuitively stop and go, I actually don't know what I'm doing right now, and I need to go for a walk and figure it out or something like that?
No, I have to figure out. I have to figure it out before I continue because I have to like put in little. Sometimes I don't put in little breadcrumbs, but sometimes I do because it's necessary, and I can't do that if I don't know who the villain is or what the plot twist is. And sometimes it's something as simple as like whatever I have written is not working and I can't figure out why it's not working. But it could be because maybe I didn't put in as much romance in there or like that tension in there or something in there, and my brain doesn't yet know it. So I have to go back. I have to read whatever. It usually happens in the first 30%. I have to go back, read the whole thing, make edits, make changes, substantive changes. And then once I'm done, I'm like, okay, now this makes sense. And then I can continue. Because if I don't do that, my brain shuts down. I can't write.
What is your writing schedule look like? Are you sort of like a, well, you're definitely not a 9 till 5, but how do you incorporate the business side of it as well, the admin and are you
Yeah.
isolating only these hours to writing, or are you kind of a little bit more whimsical?
So before all my three kids were in school, so my youngest is almost four. So before all of them were in school, I used to write at night. Uh, now that they're all in school, even though the summer's been crazy, but now that they're all in school, I do try to write while they're in school and I save the admin stuff for nighttime. I also took off writing on the weekends because I used to overwork myself. I worked every single day because I'm a workaholic. So I told myself no writing on the weekends unless it's editing and there's a deadline. So, or if I'm on a deadline and I have to write, but usually I stick to that and I don't write on the weekends at all. And I do try to write between like 9 to 3 before my kids come home. And my goal is 2,000 words a day, 10K a week if I can manage that. So yeah,
So
it's
this
hard though.
Well, but this is hard, putting a limit and saying no to
Yeah,
working. So
yeah.
one thing that's quite common in this industry is that because we're living the dream, we've got the goals, and we're like, I can do this, I know I can, and you'll work, 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 work. So what were the conversations you had with yourself to actually get to the point where you really did focus on work-life balance? Because a lot of people just burn themselves out instead and go, I'll learn better, I'll do better next time, and they do it again.
Well, I did burn out. So I was writing Sinful Vows at the time. Oh my gosh, this is going back, what, a year. And I burned out hardcore. I couldn't write a word. I mean, I didn't take off that long in comparison, maybe. I took off about 2 weeks, but that was hard for me because not writing for 2 weeks killed me. Like, I was like, I'm never going to write again. But I needed that time off. My brain needed to just kind of relax and refill the well or whatever you want to call it. And then I banged out that book. At the time, that was my best release. Every book after that did not even do as well as Sinful Vows did. So I was like, you know what? Maybe the time is good for me. And I recently kind of thought I burned out with Brutal because I just couldn't get words for this book. I couldn't finish it. It was terrible. And then I feel like I just needed some few days off because the kids are at school, at home, and it's just very hard to do anything right now. So now I'm writing the third book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're home, and I really have to get words in for this one, and I can't. But yeah, so it's tough. I just didn't want to burn out again because it's not fun. So yeah,
It's understanding your process as well. Like I'm sure that you've
yeah,
got to a point, as you said, everything routine's a little bit out at the moment. The kids are home. But you know
Yes.
yourself at the end of the day, even if you take a couple of days off, that you will get this book done. And I think that's where we need to learn to start giving ourselves grace as well. Because when
Yeah.
we start writing, I find a lot of us like write really, really quickly. And years down the line, we're like, why aren't I writing as quickly? Why aren't I producing as quickly? Why am I
Yes.
not
Yes.
doing
Hmm.
this? But you can slow down, and more often than not, you need to slow down. So you just need to trust that and trust in your process as well, which kind of sounds like you're at that.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you that I was actually afraid because I'm only releasing 3 books a year and it sounded like not a lot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, A, I'm not going to make money. B, people are going to forget me. I mean, that knock on wood did not happen because, Ruthless came out in May. My last release before that was January. It was the last book of my prior series. And I mean, it didn't do fantastic. So I was like, oh, I didn't expect much for Ruthless. But I mean, what was it like? That was a good while, about 4 months. So, I mean, yeah, I wish I could do 5, 6 books a year. I emotionally, mentally, physically cannot. My books are 100K or more. So, I mean, they're pretty long. So, I'm like, I have to do 3 books a year. It's like what my kids need, like they need their mom to be present and I need my mental health and I can't bang out more than 3. So, but I see this conversation a lot like, no, I need to have a lot of books. I need to have a lot of books. And that's great if people can, because there's some people that can do it. I'm just not one of those people. I can't.
And I'm glad we're having this conversation because it is a conversation that needs to be had more because there is such pressure and expectation of
Yes.
rapid releasing, and it is
Yeah.
unrealistic for a lot of people. And as you said, there are people who can do it, and kudos to them. But
Yes.
that's not necessarily you. That's not necessarily your
No.
process. And I think we really do have to be honest in ourselves and what we can produce of high quality, being happy in the process, because then on the other side of this conversation is the fact that people start falling out of love. It turns into a job. They're not enjoying the process. And it's really sad.
Yes, it is. And I mean, look, yes, it is a job, but I also love it. So, and I think that's what matters at the end of the day. Like I used to practice law before, and as much as I am a people person, I loved helping people. I didn't really enjoy working for other people. I didn't enjoy how I was being treated at my job. So I became a stay-at-home mom, but I needed to do something, and I'm just happy I'm doing this because I love it. And I don't want to sabotage myself by overworking myself.
How do you go then with social media? Because I'm going to say you're a little bit of a whiz. I love your aesthetic, your brand. It's all on
Oh, thank
point.
you.
And you're just
Thank
like,
you.
no, no, it's not. But it is. It is. And what advice would you have for authors? Like, is there something that you particularly focus on or something that has worked for you and you're just like, yep, that's it, and I'm going to stick with that for now?
I think hiring out is probably my best advice. I didn't do that for a while. I have someone running my Instagram for me. I never had time for Instagram. I feel like if you're doing it all yourself, pick one form of social media and just focus on that. Put your heart into it. Because if you're just going to do everything, you're just going to tire out. There's some people who are great at TikTok, do that. If you're good at Instagram, do that. If you're good at Facebook, do that. But I feel like TikTok and Instagram are probably my personal suggestions. But I do my own TikToks and someone else does my Instagram because I just cannot do everything. So hire out if you can, or focus on just one aspect and do the best you can everywhere else.
100%. I think delegation's important, especially when you get to
Yes,
your career as well, because your time is valuable. And
absolutely.
at the start, we don't necessarily have the budget to bring on other people.
Nope, absolutely not.
Do you do, say, your own ads and things like that, or do you
Yes.
hire that out as well?
So for me personally, I'm kind of one of those control freaks, and I want to do everything myself. Hiring out was one of the most difficult things for me. Oh my gosh, because A, I have trust issues. Two, I just want to do everything myself, and that was another problem. I was doing everything myself, but I only have that one girl who does my Instagram ads. I do myself. It was something I was really passionate about learning on my own. So I started to learn Facebook ads. I'm a huge fan of them. I started on August of 2022. So I'm very comfortable with them. And it's part of my, release strategy. Like I do them for every book that I release now. And so no, I don't hire out for ads. I'm still learning Amazon ads. They're not my friend, but Facebook ads, I'm comfortable with them. And it's for me, they're working. So
It's a loaded question, but you knew I was going to ask about it. any advice that you have on Facebook ads, because it is intimidating, and often a lot of authors are told you just have to tweak it, you just have to, and then people are like, how do I tweak it? What am I looking for? So do you have any
Uh,
tips?
so yeah, so I learned a lot of about Facebook ads through Nicholas Eric, his free sources. I never paid for his class because he is very expensive and not just not something I could afford. But he has a lot of people sign up. I think it's nicholaseric.com, or you can Google it. I don't have the email, the website, but he has a lot of live classes that are so helpful. So if you just listen to some of them. Um, like one thing he says that, you can right now, he recommends testing individual ads. So let's say you do 3 images and 3 parts of your book and run them by themselves and look at how many clicks it has and how much your unique, I'm going to be ad nerdy. So how much your unique click, it's called CPC, but not regular CPC, the unique CPC. So he recommends under 24 cents, and at least 30 clicks for it to be considered a winner. And you can run it for maybe 3 days, 5 to 25 a day. Um, and then look at your data and see which one has the most clicks and the least cost. And then run it, turn the other ones off and just let that one run. So you can also try testing different audiences. I mean, there's just so many possibilities on Facebook. Definitely don't run it to men, only women, and run it. I personally do one country at a time. I focus on the US. Sometimes I do UK separately, but I honestly could talk ads all day. I really can. So
I've
I
just
love
seen your
ads.
face light up as soon
I
as
love ads. I love that I could learn them because they were so intimidating to me. So I remember trying and I'm like, I'm giving up. Like, I can't do Facebook ads. I'm terrible at it. So yeah, I love Facebook ads. They're expensive. And I have friends who ask me for advice on them. And I'm like, look, yes, I spend money. People always ask numbers. I'll give you percentages. So for me personally, because I'm not, I don't have the name recognition, I'm not heavily into TikTok. I rely heavily in ads. And I spend on average, about 35% of what I make every day on ads. So that's just number wise where I'm at if people want to know.
that's amazing. And I appreciate you sharing that as well, because that also gives me an insight as to how you work personally. You seem very
Mhm.
analytical. The fact that, like, I know,
Yeah.
for example, I could line up probably 10 authors, and you and maybe another, probably the only ones who know exactly what their percentage is looking at. And so I think what this does is also bring us back to accountability as to what's actually happening in the business as well, especially when you're investing so much money into Facebook ads, because I think a lot of people can sort of set it, forget it, and be like, it just never worked out for me. And as you
Mhm.
said, there are resources out there, such as Nicholas Eric. I've had him on here before, actually.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, he's a
I love
really
them.
nice guy, and he's just so switched on with it. And you don't, there are courses you can choose. There's fantastic courses and mentors.
Yes.
You can always delegate it out, but there are free resources as well. So if you really want to pursue and try it, you just have to remain consistent with it.
Yes, and different things work for different people. Something I do might not work for another person. And one thing we have to, I think a lot of people just think, oh no, just this way, just this way. For me, this method worked. Nicholas, suggestions worked, and I'm not interested in learning any other method until this one breaks. So people need to find what works for them. There are different sources. I've read books on Facebook ads. I've tried different things. They failed, but this for me works really well.
So how far out from a release will you start trialing those ads?
I want to get the algorithm kind of marinating. So I will set them up maybe 3 to 4 days before the release and have them, run like a pre order ad just to see if the ad is even any good. Because now if I didn't test them yet, this is what I would do. If I want to test them, I would do them weeks before. So I would, if I have 6 ads lined up, I will start running them about maybe 3 weeks before and give each one about 3, 4 days and then decide what I'm going to use on release day. Right now, I kind of know which ads are working just based on testing reels and things like that. And so I will use that kind of dialogue in my ads, and I will start doing that about 3 days before. So, and then I see, if I see things are kind of failing after a week, sometimes like Facebook ads, they fail really fast. Like a month later, you're like, oh, this one's not working. So I do look at data a lot. So I look at attribution links. So I don't know if you do those, but so through your Amazon dashboard, you can set up an attribution link and put that into your Facebook ad, and it tracks your data. So you will see it's not 100%. I'm sure maybe Nicholas Eric talked about it. He says it's about 85% accurate. I personally think it's less, but regardless, I like to use the data because if I have 3 ads running and they're all for $25 a day and they've all been running for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I can see which ones has the most page reads, the most sales, and then I'll turn the one that's the weakest link off, you know? So about, I would suggest, like, if you're testing, try testing about 3 weeks before. And if you're not testing, start about 3 days, 4 days before, and let the algorithm kind of marinate, like I said. Yeah.
And to clarify, that was attributions as well. That wasn't
So
affiliate.
yeah. So the attribution link you create from your Amazon ads dashboard. So there's a campaign button, but you're not going there. You're going to the attribution part. I think it's right above that. And you have to put in like your link of the book, you put in the campaign name. So like you would name it, whatever your book is. And you can create as many links as you want for each ad. Each ad should have its own link because then it tracks each ad separately. And so that is how I look at my data. And of course, I look at my rank and I look at my sales. I try to track sales and page reads and all of that for all the books that I run ads to, because it lets me know what's working and what's not working. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
I love watching you light up about this as well. Like you can tell that this is your
I
domain.
love it.
You love
I love it.
it.
Yeah, I
And
do. I know. I tell people I love ads, and people look at me like, "How could you love ads?" I'm like, "I know. I used to hate them, but now I get them, so I love them."
I know, but and that's inspiring as well because I know like so many of us will kick the bucket. Like we'll just be like, nah, I tried one way, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But hearing you explain all of that, it's one, fantastic advice. And two, it gives the people hope that we
Yes.
do
Listen,
learn.
if I can learn it, anyone can. Just be patient and give it time because, like I said, I mean, I was learning them for a year. I was trying different things, testing different things, but it's worth it. I mean, you can hire out for this too. Um, so that's totally up to the author. For me, I just really wanted to learn them on my own to say I did it. So
And you
kind of
did.
like,
Like
yeah,
everyone's just
I
gone,
love it.
wow, that's amazing. Everything that
Yeah.
you just said was incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
What are some of the other things that you do alongside when you have a release coming up? Like your top three things. So Facebook ad, one, demolished. What are the other two things that every time you're like, this needs to be put in place?
So before my book comes out, I try to have like a promo schedule for Instagram. Well, it also goes to my Facebook, but Instagram really gets the most hits. So I will have a cover reveal around 9 weeks before my release now, and once that cover reveal is out, I've already written a lot of my book. So I know what lines I want to try to use as teasers. So the girl who does my Instagram, I will give her my teasers and she will do like my promo schedule and she alternates like from one book to another. And when it's up to the new release, she will start posting reels for it and she will do the teasers for it. So I kind of get the hype of the book up. And again, like my name's not huge, but people still get excited, whoever does see it, and they're like, oh my gosh, his book is coming. I'm so excited. And so I try to get the hype up and then I do TikToks for it. So I start testing my hooks for my books before the book comes out. And I've tested the hooks for this book and they've done superb. So I have high hopes that the hooks are good enough to sell the book. So I do that. And I also I try to post every day on TikTok. Do I do it? No, because, we don't have that many hours in the day. But I do TikTok, I do the promo schedule and building up the hype before the book comes out and Facebook ads. That's really my main three things. I don't think I have anything else.
I understand that you're super humble, which is why I'm going to say, and I'm going to pull you up now because you've said it like twice and you're like, but I'm not that big of an author.
I'm
Girl,
really not, though. I'm really not. I'm
but
really not.
you have really solidified your position in this genre as well. So it's very I can brag about or and on your behalf. So you can be humble. I'm just gonna say you're
Oh,
a fucking
thank
rock
you.
star. So
Thank you.
let's take that one out.
Thank you. We'll see how book two does. I don't know. I keep See, I'm negative on myself. I admit that. So I'm like, oh well, yeah, the second book's probably gonna bomb, and then we'll see. I'm just gonna disappear. And my friend's like, no, you're not. You're not. I'm terrible. I am. Don't be like me. I just said that twice.
What you're doing is working. So yes, maybe don't be so hard on yourself because you have achieved so much in your career
Thank you.
so far. Not
Thank
bad
you.
for going from writing poetry to then becoming a full
Yes.
published author of dark romance. Very
Yes.
different,
Thank
but
you.
very successful. So
Thank you.
tell me about the time when you got into Amazon top 10 bestseller. You made it to number 6, which is a huge feat. And I would
Yeah.
love to know how that experience was for you, but even more importantly, how you celebrated.
Is it bad that I didn't? I had friends. Honestly, I didn't. It's so bad. My husband and I were like, oh, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to take you out to dinner. And then we couldn't find a sitter. And then time just slipped away. And I'm like, oh, whatever. I just ordered myself sushi. That's actually my release thing that I do for myself. I love sushi. So every time a book comes out, I just get myself sushi. And then my friends sent me flowers and like gifts. That was really sweet because just really, really nice. It made me feel really happy. So yes, I didn't really celebrate. It was crazy because I was going crazy. Like I was telling my kids, "Oh my god, mommy's just made top 10." They're like, "That's good, right?" I'm like, "Yes, it's amazing." So yeah, I mean, I still can't believe it. I don't think I will ever believe it. Sometimes I look at the screenshot and I'm like, "Is this really my book?" Because that just is weird. Coming off of someone whose best release has been being in the 300s for like a day. So I'm like, we went from that, and that was January 2023, so it was a while ago. To having this, I mean, just even the fact that I went top 100 was amazing for me. So 6 was just a dream come true, like a pinch me moment. So yeah,
I mean, I guess it's mixed emotions as well because you're just like, are these people sure? Like, did they
yes.
click
Oh my
in the
gosh.
system? But also,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
kind of validating as well that you're like, I've been working so hard and it's so nice to see
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
It definitely felt somewhat, but I will tell you again, like I am very negative on myself. So I'm like, maybe they got it wrong. Maybe they thought it's someone else. But no, it was definitely cool. I will tell you, like it every time it kept going up, I'm like, holy crap. Sorry, am I allowed to say that?
you're on a podcast within Australia.
Okay,
There are many
okay, cool. Okay, cool. But no, it was insane. I don't think I could ever beat that. I don't even know how much higher I can go, but we will see. We will
we got
see.
number one to knock off the
Oh my
list.
gosh, that would be. I mean, I'm aiming for top 100 for my next book. That's my goal for every book in this series. Hell, if it goes to number 5 and I beat my last one, that'd be fabulous. But top 100. That's what I'm going for.
You've got this.
Yeah.
See, this is where you and I are slightly different in personality. I'm a super positive, optimistic, like, don't worry, you
Oh,
can get to top one next.
oh,
You got this.
okay. So see, I need that because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be bad.
Whenever you
Yeah.
have that voice just singing me going, that's bullshit. You can do it.
Yeah, yeah. I had a medium reading, and she told me the same thing. She's like, "You need to stop. Every time you say you're going to bomb this series, text me."
That's good.
I'm like, I might do that because I kept saying that to her. I'm like, "Is the series going to bomb?" She's like, "It's not going to bomb." I'm like, "Okay," because she told me before the book came out that your next release is going to be so astonishing for you, you're not even going to comprehend it. And I'm like, okay, sure it is. Okay. And then when this happened and I told her, she's like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. So yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I never even believed in that kind of stuff at all. Um, but holy cow, after that, I was like, I'm going to schedule another reading with you because I need some positivity in my life. So
Yes,
yeah,
Queen. Well, just you
yeah.
can always message me and I'll send you a paragraph of how
Okay.
don't you worry.
Beautiful. See, I could be positive for other people, but not myself, which is just terrible. Yeah.
Isn't
Like,
that
oh, you're fabulous. You're awesome. You can do this. Me, I'm like, you suck. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Totally.
everyone that's watching this is going, is she for real right now?
No, you have to ask my friends in chat. Every time I write a book, I'm like, this is the worst one I've ever written. They're like, oh, you do this every time. You do this every time. I'm like, we're not even listening to you anymore. They know me. They just know me.
And I think though this is like a very common thing though. Like this is something that needs to
Yeah.
be discussed because we all think
Yeah.
we write the most brilliant garbage. And then you're just
Yes.
like, oh, people like they connected, they liked it. That's so weird
Yeah.
because I thought it was horrible.
I know. Seriously, I don't know. I feel like that with every single book. I actually did read Brutal Savage after being away from it for a while. I'm like, oh, this is actually not that bad. Did I write this? I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. Like, I'm shocked at myself right now. Yeah. So that was as positive as I can go. Yeah.
Right, we can work on that. We can work on it.
Yes, we can work
What
on it.
I'm kind of curious because one thing that you also do fantastic on is your covers, your special editions, your website. I'm very blown away by how on point your branding is, but also as soon as you go to your website, you have your store, and your store is beautiful. And I
Oh,
was
thank you.
of course. I was wondering if you had any tips for anyone who's looking at doing a store, why you should be selling directly, and advice on covers, like knowing what you should have on the cover, where it sits in the market, things such as.
Okay, I'll start with cover. So I used to not even understand what a brand was. Oh my gosh. Lilian from a year ago didn't even know what a brand. I'm like, what's a brand? How do I brand myself? Oh my gosh. So now I kind of have a better understanding of it. And one thing I recommend personally is to look at the top 100 and find the books that are in your niche, like, mafia or contemporary or rom-com. See what they're doing. And that doesn't mean you have to copy them. That just means you have to match the vibes. Okay. So if you're writing rom-com, don't do snakes, don't do bullets. You're going to have something that says you're writing rom-com. For me, that's snakes and bullets. And, because mine are mafia dudes, right? So I want to match the vibes that are in my stories. And so I did a little bit of that. I try to kind of match the vibes of all my books without them being too similar. I'm glad people like them. I love my covers too. And as far as the store, so the website that you see now is pretty new. When did I do that? Maybe last year. And once I could afford like a really nice website, because I had a very basic one. But even if you can't afford, a fancy website, I think everyone should have a website because Amazon is very finicky. They could get rid of our accounts at any point. Even wide authors, like they can get rid of, your any of your accounts. We're at their mercy. But if you have your website for a way for people to contact you, a way to sell, then you have something to tell your fans like, hey, same with newsletters, like you have a way to contact these people. Because, if Amazon gets rid of my accounts, I have nothing. If I have my website, I could tell my readers at least, hey, for now, you can buy it here. So I think whether you have the money for a simple website like I did before to a fancy website, have something, because it's important.
Yeah. And I know that in this, so I actually have had Amazon terminate my account before. So
Oh gosh, I'm
the
sorry.
best experience one could ever ask for. But um, as interesting as that experience was, and stressful and exhausting, and it really threw me off the deep end. But grateful for everyone who supported me during that time. They did reinstate it.
Oh,
But it
thank
is a
goodness.
reminder that you do need, as you said, your website or your newsletter. And I would hope that people do hear this advice because you always think it's not going to happen to me
Hmm.
does happen to you and you have no backup plan, you have no access to your readers, you don't know how you're going to reproduce. So, at the minimal, if you have a website or if you have a Patreon or if you have some kind of source of
Yes.
income and connection with your readers, then you will
Hmm.
still be okay. So, I think it's really, really important, which is why I like to ask authors about their storefronts and why they did that, is because it's a terrifying thing and I hope nobody experiences it.
Exactly. I mean, look, do I sell a bazillion copies on my storefront? No, I don't. But I still love having it because some people do buy from there. But again, like you said, it's just good to have as a security measure.
100%. What has
Yeah.
been your greatest challenge and your greatest achievement so far for you personally in your writing career?
Oh my. Okay. My greatest achievement. So most people will be like, oh, yeah, the top 10. That's great. I think my greatest achievement has been not giving up because I could have given up so many times. I did in 2014. I gave up straight up. But I was making no money for a very long time. And I kept telling myself, nope, I could do this. I could do this. You're not giving this up. I'll tell you right now, my first full year of writing, I made $500. $500. That's it. This past year, I finally hit six figures. This year, I'm gonna go in like probably mid six figures. I think probably. Um, but yeah, I tell people all the time, like, look, I'm very open with numbers. I'm like $500. The second year, I think I made nine. So my steps have been like kind of, a big jump between one year to another. I would say like between 22 and 23. Uh, Finally something stuck. And I'm like, because I started writing contemporary romance. I don't know if people knew that or not. I had a 4-book series, and I had no marketing money. I didn't have money for ads. I had nothing, and then I had written The Devil's Deal, and I still really wasn't doing ads, but that was my best release at the time. And I'm like, okay, maybe this has potential. So I built on that series, and then I built a spin-off series and another spin-off series, and here we are. So I think my biggest accomplishment has been just not giving up and being resilient through it all, and being ambitious and all of that stuff. My biggest challenge, ooh, that's a good question. I think my biggest challenge was telling myself that I can't be a workaholic. And we discussed this because I am a workaholic. I came from practicing law. I strive to be a straight A student. Like, I was just one of those people. So for me, not constantly working was very difficult. And so my challenge was just kind of to tell myself, tone it down. It's going to be okay if you don't release, 6 books a year. It's going to be fine. Everyone's going to still know who you are, maybe. Um, so, yeah, I hope I answered those.
Yeah, honestly, I love your counterbalance because like these are two of the topics that I think we need to talk about more. And one, as you said, the first year you earned $500, and I bet you that your books cost you more to make
Oh,
than
for
what you earn.
sure. Oh, yes.
So I think people need to remember as well, and they look at like an author and they're like, they're so shiny and they're in the top 100 every time. And that's amazing. But that wasn't always the case for most
No,
authors. And there were
no.
years of perseverance before then. And so I actually think that this industry is quite challenging because you really do have to back yourself up, which is, I find it interesting because, you can be down on yourself, but
Yes.
backed yourself up as well. You knew that you would get somewhere, someplace at some time. So that perseverance is everything. I get really passionate about it. I'm just like, because it's
Yes.
a mental game.
Mhm.
It's a a waiting
It
game.
is.
Oh,
Yes, you have to have thick skin in this industry. You really do, because it will beat you down. I mean, you could be a six-figure author one year and then make nothing the next year. Nobody knows. So if you don't have thick skin, get it because you're going to need it. It's the truth.
so, and one thing I do with thick skin as well is, and I don't know how soon in your journey that you got this, but was finding people who were a part of your tribe, people who you could relate with within the author industry and that genuinely supported you and saw the vision for you, and you're just excited to cheer each other on. I think that
Yeah.
is for a lot of us a massive pillar that we need as well. So I would highly
Yes. Yes.
encourage finding your people.
Yes, absolutely. And that includes not only authors, but people on your team, your people that have been like I've had some people on my team because I keep my own ARC team, and I've had people who have been with me since my debut who are like so proud of me because they know how hard I work and how far I've come, and they're just always like cheering me on, and they beta read and alpha read for me, and they're always like, you should be really proud of yourself, and I'm like, I needed to hear that, thank you. So have the solid found. It's very hard for me to trust people. I said that, but I have a good group of authors that I talk to on a regular basis who we do cheer each other on and we help each other and all of that stuff. So I think that's important. And I didn't have that in 2014. And this is why I think part of the reason I stopped writing, because I didn't have anyone, no one. So yeah.
Well, we're glad you made it to the party.
Thank you. Thank you.
I I absolutely love this. Is one of my favorite questions to ask. What is the dream? What is the big goal that you're chasing? The bigger, the better.
My biggest dream is to get paperback publishing deal. I want my book all over the place. That is my ultimate dream. I don't see myself ever selling my ebook rights, but paperback rights, yes. I want to be everywhere. So like I said, ambitious, very ambitious.
I,
So that is my dream, you know.
I want
We'll see if
to.
it happens. You know?
I want us to discuss this actually a little bit. So,
Sure.
because I'm personally in a similar boat right now in mine, and same thing, wouldn't sell ebook rights. And I want us to discuss a little bit as to why, and it's a personal decision as to why we
Yes, very
sell
personal.
paperback rights, but not ebook rights. So I'm curious as to what's led you to that decision.
Because most money I make is through ebooks. So for me, it would make no sense. I mean, unless they can get me much more in royalties, I feel like I'd make more myself without giving, a publisher 15% and then have Amazon take their 30% and then I end up with less. I mean, I don't see the purpose in that. But there are authors who do it and I think it's awesome because that's what their dream is. They have a different, path. For me, it would take a lot to sell, my ebook rights because that is where the bulk of my money is. So paperbacks, less so, but that's why it's easier to kind of let those go, you know, because
And
then you're in bookstores. It makes sense as a sacrifice, but it's not a huge sacrifice for me personally.
And is
So yeah.
the reason why also you want the paperback deal is because one, as you said, you will be in bookstores, but also
Mhm.
perhaps that it offers a new type of audience, larger
Yes,
distribution, more opportunities, perhaps that we by ourselves cannot create until we have
exactly.
us.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if it'll ever happen. We shall see. I'm just banking on this series blowing up and it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen with my next series. I don't know, but that's the dream. So we shall see.
Telling you right now, like I'm gonna have to check in on you in like 6 to 12 months because
Oh
I
God.
already know you're gonna get there. So I'm just like, cool. What's the next? What's the next goal? So now that I
Oh
know that you're
gosh.
driven and you're very goal oriented, I'll be like, what's the next one? Where are we going now?
Oh, you're so funny. Thank you.
Now, I have a speed dating segment. So we're going to go on a
Oh
very
yes.
romantic date. I lit a candle, I created ambience, but
Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready.
it's 5 rapid questions. You ready to do this?
I think so. Okay.
What is the clumsiest moment you've ever had?
Okay. There are a lot because so I drop things. I have very clumsy hands. I tell people don't give me anything that's breakable because I will probably break it. Things slip out of my hands, so I don't even trust myself. So just yeah, keep glass away from me.
If I'm ever at a signing event and I hear something smash, I'll be like, I can
It's
guarantee you, I'll take money. It's Lilian. She's
it's
over
probably me. Yes. Thank goodness for PAs. I'm like, you deal with that.
there. Please pretend like it was you.
Yes, please. Yeah. I'll give you a signed copy.
What are the 3 words that best describe you?
Ooh, okay. So we said ambitious already. I'm super loyal. Like I am hardcore loyal and I'm super empathetic. So I think, yeah, those 3 things, loyal, empathetic, and ambitious.
What is the song that best describes you?
Oh my gosh, I wrote the title down because it was such a um oh my gosh, it's a song by Chumbawamba. What is it called? Oh my, I'm not even gonna say the title. It's the one that says I get knocked down but I get up again because that literally describes me.
Yes,
You know that song?
I
Yes.
know that
Yes.
song. I listen to that song
Exactly.
sometimes when I'm going to the gym.
Yeah, that's me. Totally. I'm actually gonna play it after this.
Yes,
Because
it's
I need to get my words in and I'm like, oh, I need motivation.
2,000 words. Let's go.
Right, yeah.
Who has been your favorite character to write and why? You can only choose one.
Oh, okay, that's so easy. So it is actually it's a heroine. Her name is Assault. She's a huge favorite in my series. She is a mob and assassin, and she's the one I did where she's the reverse Grumpy Sunshine, and she's the Grump, and she's just amazing. She's like a tall redhead badass. The book vibes between her and the hero, like Mr. and Mrs. Jones, like the first time they meet, they're about to kill each other. And so I love her. I try to put her in every book, and thankfully, this is her family series. So she's like in every book because she's just so fun. She just wants to kill everyone that hurts her family and hurts people she loves, and she's just like ready to pull a gun and just, yeah, she's fun. She's so much fun. I love her. Yeah.
Yes, that's the characters that we love. I vibe with that.
She's awesome. Yeah.
What is a unique talent or skill set that you have that not a lot of people know about?
Oh my gosh, I don't really have any talents. Just I don't. I mean, like I'm pretty good at writing poetry. That's really as talented as I am. Like I think a lot of that is influenced in my writing because I try to be, poetic, and sometimes too poetic. Where my editor's like, I don't know what this means. I'm like, fine, delete. Fine, I knew what it meant, but cool, delete. So yeah, I think my poetry. I just love writing poetry.
And do you ever publish your poetry separately?
When I was little, it's been in some stuff, but no, I haven't really. The library by me recently just put up one of my poems that I wrote after my first heartbreak, so that was fun. But yeah, I was like 17 and I wrote it, and I'm like, oh, this jerk, start writing a poem about him. But yeah, that's as far as I go. I haven't really posted anything, or yeah. Mm.
I love this though. This must have been such a moment for you, like reading back on that poem and thinking, wow, I've really come a long way, haven't I?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's actually pretty freaking good. It really is freaking good. I will say, 17-year-old me kicked behind. Okay.
I
So,
love this. It was always meant to happen. You're always meant to write.
yes, yes, I love it. Yeah, my mom said to me, she's like, oh, it's funny. My mom was always a big fan of my wanting to write. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy you wrote your first book. But she never believed that I would make money. She kept telling me to go back to law. And I'm like, Mom, I'm not going back to law. It's not happening. I'm going to make this work. So now she's eating her words, and I love it so
Does she
much.
read your books?
No, so my mom speaks Russian. That's language I speak, and so she's dying for it to be translated. And so I'm like, she's like, when it is, I'm reading all of them. I'm like, cool, yeah.
I have had so much fun today. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
me too. Thank you. I told you I was going to be nervous, but I wasn't. So thank you for that.
That's what I was like, trust me, just kick back and relax. That's what we do here. But let us know, what do we need to be on the lookout for? I don't believe book 3 is out until January, and then book 4
Yes.
until May because I'm a stalker. But tell us what we need to be on the lookout for, and most importantly, where do we find you?
So where do you find me as far as what, like signings or?
Oh, social media signings. What's coming up?
Oh, okay. So the next book, the one I'm just writing right now, is book 3 that's coming out in January. It's actually another forced marriage. I know, but it's totally different circumstances. So that is going to be Fionn Quinn's book. That is one of Isolde's brothers, who I said is my favorite character. So that one's January, and then the last book, where I don't know what I'm doing, that one's May, and that's going to be the last Quinn brother until my Russian Bratva series is going to start. And people are obsessed with Konstantin already. He's been in multiple books. So I need to do that guy justice. And his book is coming out in September of next year. So that's what's happening. I don't do long series, like 4 books, and I'm usually done because I get bored. I'm like, I need to move on to the next thing. So yeah, so I have 2 more books in this series. The one that's coming up September, 2 more, and then Russian Bratva begins.
Amazing. And where do we find you on social media?
So I'm everywhere. Lilian Harris author on Instagram, Lilian Harris on Facebook, and I'm also on TikTok, Lilian Harris author. And I have a website, lilianharris.com. And you can email me, say hi. I try to respond to everything. I try. So if I don't respond right away, it's because I just haven't seen your email yet.
She's busy writing, guys, and
Crying.
space for that. Did you say crying?
Trying, but crying is a good one. I will use that.
Accurate.
Probably crying and trying. Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for hopping on today.
Thank
And who
you.
knows, maybe we'll get you on next year and see where you're at.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Bye, guys.